Wax's highly sensitive nose appears to have made a positive indication for human presence just above the lorry's wheel arches. Wax indicates to Alex to investigate further. The port of Dover on the southeast coast of England is just 21 miles from Calais in France, the gateway into Europe. But not all of the passengers crossing the channel are welcome. Round the clock, the UK border agency has a presence at the port of Calais in France.
Good boy. Up here, mate, up here. Good boy, in this one.
With the aid of sniffer dogs, officers operate in force to protect the UK borders from clandestines, immigrants who attempt to enter the UK illegally.
The dog is trained to search for human scent. So a primary role at the northern ports of France is to search for illegal immigrants who smuggle themselves in lorries and other vehicles in order to get to the UK. And the dog body detection dog is one of the best technologies that we have.
In the past 12 months, officers searched more than 1 million freight vehicles and found over 29,000 immigrants attempting to come into the UK. Tonight, sniffer dog Fergus and Officer Matt are searching a lorry bound for Dover. Fergus is starting to show signs he can smell human presence.
Is this an indication, would you say?
Kind of, it's more of a disturbance indication, which means either the driver or one of our staff has checked the vehicle and there's some form of human scent still around there. Cheers, mate. Wait. Which one go find?
This time, nobody is found.
Ready? It wasn't an overly strong indication, but it was worth a look.
Officer Alex has continued the search of freight vehicles using sniffer dog Wax. And it doesn't take long before Wax makes one of his trademark indications.
We're going to get the camera in here because he's indicating.
Wax's highly sensitive nose appears to have made a positive indication for human presence just above the lorry's wheel arches. Wax indicates to Alex to investigate further.
Good boy. Good lad. Good boy. We've got at least one clandestine on top of the pannier. So you've got a box that holds pallets, wooden pallets for loading, and there's a gap in between the top of the metal box that holds the pallets and the actual trailer itself. So they're just laying on top of the pannier. Good boy. And what I'll do now is I'll get the dog out of the way and the guys can take a look.
Alex is delighted with Wax's find. The driver of the lorry, less so.
Okay, driver, you stay there. Okay, yeah.
For every clandestine found in his lorry, the driver and his company face a fine of up to £2,000.
Come on, they come. Come on. 1, 2, 3. Count 4 pairs of shoes here. Okay.
Right, we've called for assistance from the office. And we'll have someone come down to help us get them off the vehicle, and we'll keep them contained until the French police come down.
5 people are eventually found hiding underneath the lorry. It's a significant find, but for Wax, it's all a big game.
Dog's happy. He's got his tennis ball, which is what he does it for.
The clandestines are lined up as they wait for the French authorities to come and process them. For some of them, this was their 3rd attempt at getting into the UK.
The French police have taken them away to the station in the port here. They will process them, and then they'll possibly interview them to ascertain whether they can be removed from France back to their country of origin.
It's been another successful night all round, due in no small part to sniffer dog Wax. At Gatwick Airport, a flight has just arrived from Portugal. Officers are monitoring passengers disembarking the flight and looking out for any signs of suspicious behaviour.
Thank you.
One lone male passenger is of particular interest, as it's been noticed from his luggage tags that he started his journey outside of the EU.
As far as I'm aware, he's a gentleman that's come up from Venezuela via Portugal. He's just been away for a week. I think he's got a sort of last-minute ticket, only booked the day before.
The man says he's a minister who also works and raises funds for an American charity with a base in Venezuela.
They've got projects and they need funding and things like that, you know. I used to be a professional bike rider.
His short visit to South America causes concern, with Venezuela known as a country with links to the international drugs trade.
So when are you next going to be in contact with these people?
A couple of hours. I've already spoken to them on the phone.
Okay.
As Officer Tori continues to search the man's possessions, her colleague Gary comes across to swab test his suitcase for any traces of Class A drugs. And Gary's face says it all. The swab shows a positive reading for cocaine.
It's gone red, so there might be some form of traces of coke.
He relays the information to Tori.
Well, when I booked in, there was a...
Positive hits from the one there for coke.
There was a search at Crackers, actually, before.
Just wait there, I'm just going to x-ray this one. Gary says that it's got a slight hit of coke, so I think a rub down might... Let's see if I can get one of them done.
The X-ray of the suitcase is clear. But with traces for cocaine, Tori wants to take her investigation to the next level.
I want to start putting things in there. I'm just going to go and speak to my boss. I'll be back in a second. He's got no work ID on him at all. He's got a bit of an earmarked Bible, but other than that...
So I'd find it weird if you're registered, like working for a registered charity, you wouldn't have any sort of charitable ID if you've been on a
he says
charity
he's got
trip.
tons of stuff on his laptop.
The news is broken to the passenger.
When we were I was doing the baggage search earlier, one of my colleagues, you may have saw him rub a small piece of, that's what we call an iron track machine, and it's given us a small trace or a small hit of cocaine from the inside of your bag. So I've spoken to my boss and she's authorised like a security search. It's just like a rub down, like a pat down. Okay, so if you can follow me, please.
The man is led away to find out if he's hiding any packages.
When he's saying that the charity he works for have paid for his trip, but he didn't like it there really. It's very vague about what he's actually doing. It's just charity work. What?
No drugs are found on his body, so his shoes are taken away for further swab tests. And with another positive reading for cocaine, the plot thickens.
There's basically a few inconsistencies with what's happened here, and that is the fact that he's obviously said he's a charity worker, he's worked for a charity for a long time, but he has no actual charity ID. Also, he said he had a lot of stuff on the computer which was related to the charity, but he now can't find it. The man who bought his ticket, he had said, was arranged by the charity. We now discovered that the man who bought the ticket is his friend who's meeting him outside. It's nothing to do with the charity at all.
With all of this in mind, officers decide to put the passenger through an X-ray. The positive drug hit from his shoes may suggest he's smuggling packages inside his body. However, his calm demeanour and full cooperation belies that of a drug smuggler. Passengers who've swallowed drugs will be arrested and detained for their own safety until all the packages safely come out.
If you just follow the officer again, you can take your bits there.
This time, however, it looks like the man has not swallowed any drugs.
I think this is all a bit too dense.
This is hip bone, isn't it? It's a new hip replacement.
Oh, that is, yeah. But I mean, all this.
With the last roll of the dice, Officer Kerry sends a team outside the airport to try and locate the person waiting to collect the passenger.
Yeah, we've sent 2 officers out to look for the guy that is supposed to be meeting Mr. Kerry, but as yet no one has showed themselves. They've not turned up to a call for his name or even the call for the meter's name. So we've just been given it a couple of minutes. If we hear nothing from it, I think at this stage, because of what we have, or rather what we don't have, we're probably going to have to let him go and just always be wandering, perhaps.
Just down the end there. Thanks for your time.
No one is found outside the airport. After a thorough search, the man is free to go. The hits for drugs are put down to contamination. A At Gatwick Airport, passengers have just arrived from Kingston in Jamaica. The UK Border Agency has just been alerted to a medical emergency on board the flight, and Officer Chris is sent to investigate.
We're just rushing up to gate 59 now. We've received a call from the inbound Kingston flight that the lady on the flight has been vomiting and has collapsed. I've already spoken to the crew. She's travelling with 3 children, and she said she's been vomiting the whole flight. So they said they were going to call the paramedics, and she told the crew she was very worried because she'd been given something to swallow to bring back to the UK.
With a suspected drug swallower on their hands, paramedics are dispatched to the aircraft along with border agency officers who process the woman's arrival.
Depending on the woman's condition, she may go straight to hospital. If that's the case, officers will go with her in the ambulance. If not, she'll be processed here locally by Gatwick staff.
We're taking the kids, escorting the kids.
Yep.
I'm not sure where their passports are, but apparently
we'll look after the passports. Yeah. We'll go with you.
Boys, yeah?
As the sick woman is attended to by paramedics, provisions are made for her children.
Children have just been taken through the controls, through passport controls and customs controls, and they'll be reunited or united with their grandmother. The lady, the mother, she'll surely be taken to East Surrey Hospital, along with 2 detection officers as well, and they'll stay with her for the time being.
The woman's health continues to deteriorate, so paramedics must rush her to hospital to assess whether or not she has packages inside her. If she has swallowed drugs, one burst package would take just minutes to cause almost certain death.
The lady's just been loaded into the ambulance. She'll be taken to local hospital. One of our female officers will go with her, and other officers will join her as well at the hospital. When she gets there, she'll be examined by the doctors to see what, if anything, she's got inside her. She's saying that she's a couple of months pregnant, which is, it's not an unfamiliar thing. We see pregnant women on occasion do swallow packages of drugs or have drugs inside them as well. And they think if they say they're pregnant, it will stop us looking further. She's been vomiting for several hours now, and it's not an uncommon reaction with people who have swallowed packages. It's just their stomach is having an adverse reaction to anything up to 1 kilo of foreign packages inside their body.
The woman is escorted to hospital by border agency officers who will monitor whether she passes any packages. In the terminal, team leader Chris goes through the contents of the woman's suitcase.
So we had a message from the Gatwick Airport. The airport operator's got like a control room that's manned 24 hours. The message we got was that she'd admitted to swallowing packages. She's now saying that she's not swallowed packages. So it may just be Chinese whispers, but also it needs to be investigated.
With nothing suspicious found in her suitcase, an ion track swab test is conducted for any traces of drugs.
And that's come up as a positive hit for cocaine. It's not saying she has come into contact with cocaine, it's just an indication that she may have.
The woman's circumstances are now even more alarming. Chris conducts an X-ray of her suitcase for any hidden concealments.
There's nothing in the bags from a customs point of view, other than the ion track indications, which does give us something else to think about. The next step now is to concentrate on the lady.
Officers head down to the local hospital to check on the progress of their suspected drug swallower.
When someone complains of stomach pains or anything like this, you know, as we said before, the medical assistance is the first priority, and if a medic dictates they go to the hospital, then they go to the hospital. From our point of view, we still have a responsibility, A, towards the passenger, to make sure there's no harm going to come to them, but B, we've got to safeguard any sort of illicit material they may be carrying.
3 UK border agency officers have been monitoring the woman's health at the hospital. When Chris arrives for an update, they're positive she hasn't swallowed any drugs. But nurses have made a shocking discovery.
Having spoken briefly to the nursing staff. It sounds like she may have been forced by her boyfriend to drink a liquid to try and induce a miscarriage because she's slightly pregnant. Again, it's only a vague story we've got, but nevertheless, because she's in our care, she's been detained by us, we'll need to explore that with her.
The woman was later discharged from hospital and was of no further interest to the border agency.